Quiet on the set. Count it off. 3, 2, 1.
All right. We are live. All right, people. Derrick Grayson, I am back. Who am I? I am candidate for U.S. Senate for the great state of Georgia. I want to do a little house cleaning before we get into the show. Our website is graysonforgeorgia.com, FORGA.com. Please go to our website, sign up, volunteer, donate, comment, ask questions, check out our platform. And also be mindful, because I have to tell people this often because many don't know. It does not matter what state you live in these United States, you are able to support by way of working for our campaign and donating to our campaign. So where you live is not important. So we encourage all of you to participate, because if we win, not only does Georgia win, but you win too, because I'm going to be fighting for everybody. So let's get on into our show. I'm going to kind of walk you people back through a few things and kind of explain, why do people believe the things that they do? This particular guy here, Aristotle, he said, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. What that means is, you are a person that has understanding and wisdom and have personally made it your responsibility to seek out knowledge so that you understand how to govern yourself, how things work in the world. You formulate your worldview. Therefore, people can say something. That does not mean that you're going to believe it because they said it, whether it be your politicians, whether it be your preachers, whether it even be your own parents, because all parents are not infallible. We all make mistakes. And sometimes, or at least with me, my father raised me to be better than him, to learn more than he knew. My father also taught me to question. If I'm in doubt about something, question it. My father is an educator himself. And even Jesus Christ said, we will do these things, the miracles that he performed and more. And he was saying, I want you to be better than even I was in my time walking here on earth as a man. Remember, he became man. That's why he called himself, I am the Son of Man. So let's move on and talk about why some of the things that cause us to believe the things that we believe. One is education. What they teach you in school. Civics is one of those things that is no longer taught in school. I don't know if you watch how people engage with each other these days, but some people just don't know how to act in public. You know, the old folks used to say, the boy ain't got no home training. So you know what I'm talking about. We've all seen them. Then there is indoctrination. You see a lot of that in television, where they push a point over and over and over again to the point to where you've heard it so much, you don't know any different. Case in point, black people. They believe, even historically, that the Democrats have always had their back. Nothing could be further from the truth. It doesn't matter how many times you tell some of them, they just will not hear it. Likewise with those that are in the Republican Party. You try and tell them, for instance, that George Bush Jr. and Sr. were globalists, they don't want to hear it. They act like you slapped them upside the head. But we know, those of us that pay attention, what's going on. And then the third reason why we believe things that we should not believe is normalization. Once things are put forth, it becomes normalized. And the most effective devil in America, when it comes to the normalization of things that are contrary to conservative principles. Now, I've explained conservatism and progressivism many times. So briefly, conservatism, you stick with what you know works. Progressivism, people say, oh, wow, let's try something new. There's nothing new under the sun. They're just simply trying something old that failed in the past, and people ended up going back to what they knew worked. So that's it. So TV, the media, radio, print, all of that serves a purpose. So let me take you back even a little bit further about that devil and what they have done. Let's get that next image up there. Do you remember when Trump first ran? And I kept this. I kept this image because I knew one day I would need to use this again. Trump was depicted as a clown. That's right. They called the man a clown. Didn't have any business running for office. It wasn't so much that Trump was a clown. They feared what Trump was bringing to the table and what Trump was going to do to their table. I call them the money changers table. But when you look at the woman over on the right, I think her name is Representative Jackson Lee. If you want to look for a clown, you got one already up there in Washington, D.C. But Donald Trump was the furthest thing from a clown. And when I heard him in the very first debate explain why he was running, I knew then that a civil war was coming. Let's go on to that next image. What Trump ultimately ended up looking like was the hitman. Donald Trump came with a purpose. Donald Trump came to try and preserve America and restore what he saw was being taken each and every day. And he got tired of playing the game. When they asked him in the debate, well, you gave to the Democrats. Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? Donald Trump said, for my family, my businesses, and my employees, I had to give to both parties. But I'm sick of playing the game because I see one day they will take all that I have. If they can do it to you, I'm next because I'm not a member of their club. And what makes Donald Trump different? Bring that other image up for me. Donald Trump has got a spine. He's got a backbone. I remember when I first ran, I told people, we need somebody up in D.C., and I said this in 2014 and in 2016, that will stand up and be counted, that will name names. My former campaign manager, Barbie Dunn, dear friend of mine, we had a phrase, we're going to Washington, D.C., if you send us, with a broom, a whistle, and a flashlight. And I remember a lady asking me at one event that I attended, well, you've got to work with the other Republicans. How are you going to do that if you make them all enemies? And I said, ma'am, they made themselves my enemy every time they voted with a Democrat against the Constitution. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to work with them. I want them gone. I do not have to work with people that are engaged in activities that are detrimental to this country. And that is what people need to understand. That is what Donald Trump started. Donald Trump has fired more people than any president in history. I looked it up. And also, I remember when Donald Trump got in, everybody was talking about, oh, there he is with the swamp. But nobody's saying a word. And when he started to firing the people, they said, oh, yeah, he's getting rid of them because they're going to expose them. No, Donald Trump recognized who they were, and he got rid of them. And I know I'm talking a lot about Trump because I'm trying to set the stage for where we're going next. Let's go on to the next slide. Here, I shared this last week. You see a game board, and you see the fat cat sitting around the game board, determining the ways and the ways and the hows of how they want us to move, how they want us to flow. And if you look underneath, there are a bunch of people bent over supporting the game board. But if just one of them, if just one stood up and upended that table, the game would start to end. That is what Trump is doing. That is what I will do. That is what a gentleman down in Florida did who was told he had to shut his business because it wasn't an essential business. He was arrested and they were going to prosecute him. They dropped that case. I posted that on my wall too. That was one of those individuals underneath that table, bent over, who decided and said to himself, not today. And he decided to stand up. The enemies are our fat cats. But here's what the fat cats do. Let's go on to the next slide. The fat cats present the illusion that there are two parties. Yes, I said illusion, that there are two parties. It doesn't matter if it's the GOP, if it's the liberals. It doesn't matter if it's Democrats or Republicans. Whatever you want to call them, they make you think that there are two. And if you look at the image, it doesn't matter which end you go down, you end up in the same place, toward a room built for your destruction, your demise. And how do they accomplish this? They accomplish it with the media by keeping us divided. You see, if I sat down with any liberal, and I have many liberal friends, and if I take Trump off the table, just push him off to the side, if I take all abortion off the table, just push it over to the side, don't even bring those things up, and we just sit and have a conversation. And I say, do you think people ought to come into the country legally? I don't know anybody that would say no. They will say they should come into the country legally. Do you think innocent people should spend decades in prison when a DNA test could have freed them in the beginning, but it was denied by overzealous politicians? Most of them are going to say, no, they should have done the DNA test. But these are the times in which we live, and they don't want that. That is what they do. Let's move on to the next slide. And so while we are sitting back supporting these Democrats and these Republicans, see, you and I, we understand. They set up their platform, and we get in with their platform, and what do you know? We are fighting each other over their ideology, not ours, because all we want to do is live and care for our families. Now, I know we have people that want a little bit more than that. They want what you got. They'll take it from you. They'll kill you. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people, hardworking, middle-class Americans that get up, go to work every day, and try to provide for their families. While we're doing all of that, sitting there holding an allegiance to the establishment of either party, they are joined. Their hands are joined behind the table when they go and make their backroom deals. That is the fight that we are in. And at the end of the day, if you can't see that first, it's going to be difficult for you to understand the things that I'm going to talk about next. Let's go on to the next slide. So now we're going to get into this corona issue. I like to say corona because I'm not going to be indoctrinated into saying COVID. And that's another story. So let me give you a little background on China. And I talked about this a little bit in the last video that we had. That was Our U.S. politicians made China our backbone. That is why you saw when people were running to go and buy toilet paper, there wasn't any there. Because it's all made in China, as with so many other things. And as you see with the illustration, our politicians made it to where we're tossing a gold mine over to China, and the only thing we're getting in return is a bunch of debt. But those U.S. politicians, those same politicians, through the lobbies, they're getting richer and richer and richer. How do you go into office on a salary of $120,000 to $140,000 a year, and by the time you leave 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, you are a multimillionaire? How does that happen? Only in U.S. politics, and only because of us, because we continue to vote for those people. No other president prior to Trump was willing to stand up to China. That is what they feared. Do you remember Justin Amash? Something you don't hear talked much about. As soon as he was done with the Republican Party because Trump was going after China. You want to know why? Because he has ties to China himself, as does many other politicians that are making their bank off of their investments in China, keeping China as our backbone. All right? So let's go on to the next slide. With Trump now in office, what do we see? People around the world are recognizing that Trump is the real deal Holyfield. He's playing varsity. The other guys were junior varsity. But they weren't really playing at all because they were working for the globalist agenda. That's what we had happening. Trump was about MAGA. Make America great again, because he realized what had happened to our country. Let's go on to the next slide. And with that, after they failed with spying, we know that to be factual. It's documented on government letterhead that Trump was spied upon. I remember when Trump was talking about it, everybody was saying the man was crazy. Do you remember that? Well, I do. I don't forget. Keep it locked away right up here. After the spying, they started with the Russia collusion. You remember who took that dossier to the FBI? John McCain. May God rest his soul. That's right. A Republican, a rhino. Republican in name only. They wanted Trump gone and anything necessary to get rid of him. And when China went on the air and said, or was asked, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Because, understand, China knew things that many of us did not know. But China called it right, and it was a breadcrumb. He said because it came from China. China. They didn't like that. Not at all. Let's go on to the next slide so I can set the rest of this up. China and the U.S. are known for germ warfare. They will put the antidote in food, drink, or whatever once they have killed enough to meet their purposes. So what was happening in this particular situation? Trump is taking it to China with trade. Trump is knocking their economy back down to where it's supposed to be because he wants to restore the American backbone. He wants to bring jobs back here. He wants us to manufacture and produce. But at the very least, he wants trade to be fair and balanced. So China decided they would pull out a bullet for a bigger gun because the other three weapons that they formed did not prosper. What is that? Bible says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Well, that's what we have working here. So when we get past this, and now that you understand that, and the reason someone sent this to me, a trusted friend that is in the pharmaceutical industry, they sent that to me. And it is noted, China and the U.S., because you want to know something, and this has been proven, it's documented. A woman by the name of Mitovich, I think that's her name, Judy Mitovich, and many others. And I have shared this information more than once. It is documented that they started experimenting with making the corona strain more virulent here in the United States first. Some changes were made that put a halt to that. So it went from one of the Carolina states, and I think another place in Texas, don't quote me, but two places here first, two labs here. Then they decided to outsource it to China, and they started working on it in China. Now, in China, we all now know that it was the Wuhan lab. This is no longer disputed. Even China has admitted it. So that means that it was a lie when they said it came from the wet market. That means your representatives knew that it was a lie when they said that it came from a wet market. Who knew that it didn't come, who knew that it did not come from a wet market? Your representatives knew that it did not come from a wet market because they had been working on this for a number of years already. But you didn't know. I didn't know. But there are people that put everything on the line so that we would know. And these are things that you do not hear in the mainstream media. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, this is interesting. This is a breadcrumb from Rudy Giuliani. Now, many people missed it, but I didn't. And you see where I got underlined biological attack? This was published on, tweeted on April the 8th. Giuliani, making it look like it was about Joe Biden, slipped in that breadcrumb. Donald Trump is out here working 24/7 to lead us through our most catastrophic biological attack. Now, if it was an attack, so an attack is an action word. Somebody does something towards someone else or something to attack something with fierceness. If it wasn't an attack, Rudy would have used a different word, but Rudy called it what it was, a biological attack. And this was in April. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, even with that information being out there, we were lied to about the wet market. And I just told you, your representatives, they know what's going on, all right? We were lied to about that. We're lied to about it originating in a lab. And the reason I bring that back up is because Miss Judy, I don't want to mess up her last name, made it painfully clear, no equivocation whatsoever, when they asked her, was this made in a lab or did it occur naturally? She said this virus was manipulated here in the U.S. first, in 2 labs, and then sent over to China where the work continued. That is a fact. And she said, being that it was manipulated, as was Ebola, did you hear me? As was Ebola, there is no way that this would have occurred naturally. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what are some of the other lies that we have been told about the death? The death toll is where I'm going to next. Understand something. You want to make it look as bad as you can when you have dozens of doctors coming out and telling you the government is pressuring us to say that if a person died from something else, but they tested positive for corona, say they died from corona. That inflates the numbers. So I was screen capturing the death toll as time has moved forward. Can we go back to the other slide, please? The previous one with the numbers. Okay, so we've kind of gotten off point. The point is the week of April the 18th. Okay, there we go. This particular slide here, it shows that the U.S. deaths are about 38,500. 38,500. Let's go to the next one and look at those numbers. Yeah. If you look here, that same period, these are updated numbers from the CDC's website. So if you start at the bottom, go backwards and add them up, the number's only 34,000. There was some inflation going on. And I suspect there will be some more correction as time moves forward. Now, the virus is real. The virus is virulent, extremely contagious, but it is not as deadly to healthy people as you are being led to believe. Trump knows it. Rudy knows it. I know it. Now you know it. Is it deadly to some? Yes, but not to the extent that they are presenting it, because they have intentionally inflated the numbers to fit their agenda. One man, our economy, one election. Let's go on to the next slide. In this next slide, Donald Trump tweeted, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy. Now, he's not going to go right out and call them by name, but we're talking about people in government, in the House, in the Senate, and we're talking about people in the deep state. In light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration. Donald Trump is doing what he does best, thinking outside the box. But he understands what we are against. This is why I have never understood why people do not want to get the word directly from him. Now, I know why the media don't want you to get it, because they want to filter. They don't want you to have this information. They don't want you to understand biological attack. They don't want you to hear invisible enemy. Who is he talking about? China? No. He's talking about people right here, people that you vote for, people that you may vote for again in 2020. That's who he is talking about. These people are responsible for this. The position that China is in, being our backbone, these people here in our country, in our government, are responsible for that. They made possible, made in China on damn near everything that you buy at the store today. The parts on you, they made that possible. It wasn't that we didn't want to do the job. It was for those individuals to personally enrich themselves for the sake of the businesses that lobby them. I remember somebody told me a long time ago, we don't pay to fix the tax code. We pay these politicians to give us tax code that nobody will understand and will allow us to do business the way we want to do it. So ain't nobody trying to get rid of that and go to the fair tax. That's what it is, people. That's what it is. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, in spite of all of this other information coming out, still, those in D.C. are still trying to find cover. A senior intelligence source tells me that there's an agreement amongst most of the 17 intelligence agencies. Do you remember those 17, 18 intelligence agencies that said Donald Trump wasn't spied on? Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Do you remember seeing Hillary? Well, I'm told from my briefings by 15, 16, 17 intelligence agencies that Trump was not spied on and there was Russian interference in our election. These are the people you want to trust? Are they? Come on, I'm asking you. And he goes on to say that COVID-19 originated in the Wuhan lab. Oh, now you want to tell us. You didn't just figure this out. You already knew it. But the information is coming out from all of these other independent sources. So now they are coming out with it. But guess what it says next? The source stressed that the release is believed to be a mistake. All caps. All caps. Let me explain something to you about the United States. Now, I love this country. I served in the United States Navy 6 years. If I could go in and serve another 10 years, I would. Wish I had retired, but I didn't. I was too short-sighted. But I love this country. I love my military background. But I also understand the history of our country. People in government in this country allowed for slavery, the trading and selling of Negroes, the wanton murder, lynching, rape of both men and women and their children. It was legal. A slave escaped. You had a duty to return them if they were captured to their owners. That was this country. That was a mindset. Now, that's not happening today. I understand that. The point I'm trying to make, evil is as evil does. I think that's a Forrest Gump quote. There are evil people in government. And there's more and more things that are going to be coming out that you will see for yourselves. Let's go on to this video clip, and this will drive the point home to what I'm talking about.
We know that the Chinese Communist Party was both criminally negligent and incompetent at first, and then deliberately malevolent in the way they responded to this virus for their own people and the world. As early as the second week of December, it was clear that this virus was spreading from person to person. By late December, it was spreading to doctors in Wuhan hospitals. Some doctors were trying to blow the whistle on these facts, and the secret police arrived at their doorsteps in the middle of the night. So only after China fessed up to the WHO on December 31st did the world know what was happening, yet still they continued to deny that it was spreading from person to person into mid-January. That allowed millions of people to leave Wuhan, and then finally China continued to pressure the WHO and other countries not to stop international travel from China. That meant that hundreds of thousands of persons left China after this virus was spread far outside of Wuhan, which allowed the virus to escape China's borders and get to the United States and get to Europe and get to essentially every country in the world. I believe that was a deliberate and conscious choice by the Chinese Communist leadership because they did not want to see their relative power and standing in the world decline because this virus was contained within China.
There you have it. Wrapped up, tied in a bow, so that you understand what's going on. That is where we are. They are still equivocating. They are still lying, and they refuse to come clean and tell you the truth. Instead, they are moving full steam ahead to get you normalized to distancing, wearing masks, because at some point down the line, they're going to be coming at you with mandatory vaccines. And I have said more than once, get your politicians on the record. Ask them, if somebody presents legislation for mandatory vaccines, are you going to sign it? I don't know of a single senator or representative from Georgia that spoke out against preachers being arrested for having church or the overreach of government. The only person I've heard speaking out against it was Donald Trump himself. That's it. But none of these folks here from Georgia. And I'm going to show you something else about my party. Now, when I talk about my party, I'm talking about the establishment. I'm not talking about rank and file people like me, because I am a proud member of the conservative party known as the GOP, Grand Old Party, the Republican Party. But what the establishment stands for, it sickens me. Let's bring up this other image, and I'm going to explain to you why. In 2014, 2016, the Republican Party had this push for inclusion. And I brought it up. There were people there with me, Mark Augustine, Catherine Bernard, Ted Metz, Barbie Dunn. All of us talked about inclusion. Well, what was the inclusion? Reaching out to the black community, showing them that we care about their issues too. I say, well, you'll never get them to come and support you if you never reach out to them. So they made this feigned attack that we are the party of inclusion, and that was complete BS. This United States 2020 Senate Forum being held this Friday, you see my photograph there on the right side, third down. I'm going to be there. Where are Loeffler and Collins? Nowhere to be found. They got the invitation just like I did, but it's a Democrat function. And the reason they aren't there is because they don't give a damn. They don't. I said it is what it is. If I'm wrong, show me I'm wrong. They don't care anything about reaching out to black voters. That is what that is. And that is what most of the white Republican candidates do. They don't pay you no attention. I do. I will. I don't care what color you are. I will come and talk to you. I will sit down with you. And there are people that are my friends that are white that support those individuals. What can you say? Ain't nothing you can say to me. You support somebody who don't give a damn about people that's of my color. They don't come out into our communities and talk to us, sit with us, set up meetings. But you want to know who did? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is a racist. These are racists by omission. They don't tell you what they really feel. But I know what they feel. Because when I ran in 2014, they came to me and said, Derrick, it's not your turn at the trough. Take a back seat. Go and sit down. Let somebody else who has paid their dues run. And I said, you know what? You don't have to like me. You ain't got to support me. But understand this. If you don't, just stay out of my way. I'm going to do what I got to do. I was even offered money in 2016 to go and run against Hank Johnson, a race they knew I wasn't going to win because, one, it is a Negro congressional district. They're only going to vote for the Democrat. That's just the way that is. But I still would go and engage. And there have been more people leaving the Democratic Party under Donald Trump than I have seen in probably 30 years. 30 years. Because Donald Trump does talk to people across the aisle. Donald Trump does talk to other ethnic groups and races, black people. For blacks, Donald Trump gave us criminal justice reform. He funded the HBCUs, lowest black unemployment in 30 years. I could go on and on and on and on, but I won't. It would be pointless to continue to belabor that fact. We know what he has done, but there are those who still cannot hear it. They still cannot see it because they are still caught up in what they have been told by mainstream media, the most effective devil in America. I'm Derrick Grayson. I'm running for U.S. Senate. Please visit my website, graysonforgeorgia.com. Please donate. Please volunteer. Sign up. Just give us your name and email, and we'll keep you informed of what's going on with the campaign. We have a monthly fundraising campaign going, or each month, but right now our goal is $20,000 for this month. So if you got 10 friends, get them to give $20. Hey, 100 people get 10 friends to give $20. We'll have that 20 grand, or you can just drop 200 by yourself, and we'll call it a day. I ain't gonna be mad with you. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. I didn't see anything coming up in the chat. We'll have to catch up with that next time. And I will post this video to YouTube. I don't believe it streamed out to YouTube, but that's another story. TMOT out.